Hey, everyone, it's Isaiah. Welcome. This is another one of my podcast episodes. So, Isaiah's Inspiring Evenings. And today we are recording with the amazing Dr. Sheri L. Brown again. Hi, Sheri.
Hi.
So, this is the fourth episode that we're doing together of a series that we have called Aligned and Unstoppable Conversations, of course, with Dr. Sheri L. Brown. And so these conversations are recorded live. I very seldom edit anything. And there you have it. Then I share it on my podcast. This is a series about shifting from hustle to alignment, about stepping into authentic power and embracing multidimensional confidence. I like that. So before we go into today's particular topic, I will remind you that there are three other episodes that you can listen to already, and that there's more coming.
Yay.
So today's episode, oh no, sorry, I need to go into your bio. So we have a shortened version of your bio today, but if people want the longer version, they can find everything along with any freebies that we mention or any links to your amazing, to the places where one can find you, Sheri, below the video, around the video, above the audio, wherever. You will find all the links, including a longer bio. But for now, let's have a shorter bio. So, Dr. Sheri L. Brown is a spiritual psychologist, an abundance mindset mentor, an intuitive empowerment coach, a life and business coach, a human potential catalyst, and the founder of ZenFlow OS, of which we talked about in our previous episode. Dr. Sheri L. Brown is, sorry, is also a spiritual entrepreneur, obviously, and she's passionate about helping others step into their limitless potential. She helps visionary entrepreneurs, creators, and spiritual leaders to master their multi-dimensional mindset and energy so they can confidently turn inspired downloads into aligned offers, books, and impact-driven success. Exciting!
Yes.
So today's episode is called the 5C Framework, and this is a framework that you have created or invented or downloaded or a bit of all of that. And so it has five, obviously, since it's called the 5C, five words, concepts, ideas, which are connection, clarity, confidence, creation, and communication to conjure your reality. I love the word conjure. Thank you for the witchy aspect of it. I feel seen. Plus, I love the alliteration. So, 5C framework. Who is that for?
Well, as you were speaking, I was thinking about it's really for all of us humans who are purpose driven and passionate and intentional about creating our reality in a really powerful way. So it could be for creatives, entrepreneurs, definitely those who tend to lean toward being soul led, and definitely witches can use this framework as well.
Good. Good. So, let's dive straight in. Can I know that this framework has been foundational in your work. Can you walk us through how each C um, works, how it supports not just mindset shifts, but energetic alignment? What are they about? So, connection, let me recap: connection, clarity, confidence, creation, and communication. So, which one do you want to start with?
Let's start with the big C, connection.
Hmm.
And my impetus for creating this was a few years ago. I created a webinar that was really to help anyone who felt called to accelerate abundance in their life and in their businesses. So it was really about my personal journey of what I have discovered throughout my life and leaning into, how could I say this? We all know, for those of us who are soul led, we definitely like to appreciate and lean into the what I think is the energy of wisdom,
Mm,
right? You know, we're always seeking, we're always moving to our personal next level, whatever that
mhm,
looks like for us. And so the impetus behind creating Accelerate Abundance was really my personal journey of, even though I came to the planet tuned in and spiritual and was always open, getting intuitive downloads at a very young age and channeled writing, guided writing, diving into self-help books as an 18-year-old, studying metaphysics as a 20-year-old. Like, it was definitely always a part of my journey, but I was raised in a very left-brained environment,
mhm,
and it was very action oriented, and the value that was placed on blood, sweat, and tears, and the only, if you work really hard, you will go from point A to point B, and there was really no other energy involved. And so I was kind of like, teetering in all of these worlds with science and spirituality, and then, earning a doctorate in psychology with a huge emphasis on statistics and research methods. So I'm kind of like that duality of, being and doing, of left-brained and right-brained, which is not unusual because I'm a hardcore Gemini. Um, so it was easy for me to kind of flip back and forth, but the bigger paradigm, the bigger belief system was stay in logic, work your ass off, do it this way, there is no other way.
mhm,
And so I worked as an entrepreneur for many, many, many years, for a very long time actually, like while I was doing graduate work. And the more I leaned into entrepreneurship, the harder I worked, and the more I was beginning to burn out and making myself very, very sick.
mm.
And so I knew that there had to be a better way. And the only way out, I think at that time, was to pull back, regroup, regather, heal my body, get rid of all the thoughts and the beliefs and the programs that really never resonated with me in the first place, and really take a deep dive into my inner being to tune into and to feel what felt good and right for
Mm.
me. And so in that process, the 5C framework was born.
And the connection
And
is step
connection.
one because it's reconnecting with, I'm guessing, yourself first.
Right. Absolutely reconnecting with soul, reconnecting with your inner being, your inner essence in a really true, powerful way to return, I think, home to ourselves, to return home to the essence that why we're here, what makes us tick, the wisdom that our souls carry through lifetimes,
Mm.
the eternal aspect of who we are, our purpose, and our sovereignty as a soul.
Mm. What I find really, really interesting and quite unique about you and the way you talk about things is um, that this connection that you mentioned for me, what I hear in your words, and we've been talking for a while now, is it's not an either or situation. It's connection between this hardcore left brain, organized, masculine, let's call it this way, part of ourselves, which is usually very commonly pushed upon us in our education and in our Western civilized world, well, civilized, the air quotes are big, world, and the other part. And it's not dropping this left brain to fly, basically. It's connecting the two brains. It's connecting the yin and the yang, connecting the do and the be. And it's not, okay, I'm just going to sit here and dream my life, manifest my life with sheer how can I say that? Unicorns and talking with angels situation.
Right.
Um, it's about connecting, reconnecting our two, well, reconnecting the dual parts of ourselves. And I think
Yeah.
this is quite unique. I've heard a lot of people, because I'm running a podcast, so I'm talking to a lot of people that I feel are telling me about their journey from one place to another. And I believe what I really love about the way you talk about things, it's not leaving someplace to go to someplace else. It's about connecting the two parts of us or the two facets of us. And that makes us whole again.
Absolutely. And it's really about integrating all of the incredible aspects of who we are and the energy that really is integral, that belies everything. So, absolutely, it's really about integration. And
I,
we may have talked about this briefly in another episode. When I was 27, I had a near-death experience.
mm-hmm,
And I know, I'm sure, because I talk to soul-led people pretty much mostly all of the time. And people that are connected to their spiritual self, how could I say this? We tend to be the people that would like to leave the physical world because
mm,
being back home in spirit and on the other side and expansive and all of those beautiful, dreamy, etheric words, we know that feeling. And I remember going through my near-death experience thinking, okay, I get to go back home.
mm-hmm,
I had like an overwhelming sense of relief. And then, of course, this miraculous surgery saved my life. And here I found myself at the age of 27 thinking, well, I need to get my shit together and figure this all out. Um, but I definitely very intentionally thought I'm going to pursue my spiritual path in a much bigger, more disciplined, profound way. I'm going to lean into my intellectual self, right? So now I'm talking about 5D and 4D dimensionality.
mm-hmm,
But I definitely did not really feel like connecting to my physical body. And so that was a bigger part of that journey that probably led me on one level and in some way to creating this dis-ease in my body.
mm-hmm,
And it goes back to your bigger point, I still was not fully integrating the gift of this physical world and my
mm.
physical body. So I kind of leaned into intellectualism and spirituality, and I just was like, whatever, I'll deal with my body when the time comes. And then, yes, lo
The
and
time comes.
behold, the time
The
came.
time comes.
Yes. And so, yes, it's definitely an
Kind of fast
integration.
and on a wild horse when it comes. That's it.
Yes. And so I do think that that integration is crucial because we are here. We humans are here to create. That is why we came to the planet. Absolutely, 100%. We receive creative downloads from bigger consciousness, all that is one mind, however we want to describe it, source energy, God, whatever word works. We're receiving these creative downloads, and the question is, are we going to ignore them or are we going to bring them to life into this physical
Mm,
reality? And that definitely requires action.
mm-hmm.
That definitely requires
Yeah, I
a
agree.
physicality to it. So yes, like I am definitely all about taking that bigger picture energetically, which really does lead into the 5C framework. So when we're connected, a lot of things happen in that space, in that sense of stillness
Mm,
where we get to tune into our soul energy, our inner being, and remember who we are at the soul level. And I've been talking this week for whatever reason and writing about it this week. It's almost like creating energetic blinders where we're blocking out all of the old stories and paradigms and programming and everything that we've ever been shown and told, and getting down to and into the essence of who we are in a very profound, deep way. So
Mm-hmm.
we get to remember energetically why we're here, the
Mm-hmm.
purpose of why we're here, and then kind of tune into the beliefs and the programs that we would like to write and the stories that we would like to write.
Mm-hmm.
So we really do remember who we are. So connection is remembering who we are, getting clear on what beliefs and stories and paradigms are empowering to us, letting the rest of it go, and then leaning in and listening to the whispers of what creative downloads we would really like to bring
Mm-hmm.
through in that moment in time. So connection is
Yeah. So
actually,
from connection to clarity,
right,
actually.
exactly. So it just leads right into clarity.
Mm-hmm.
And there is so much energy in clarity because when we don't have it, and I've got to talk about entropy at some point, and I think I'll do it here if you don't mind, but I'll talk
Sure.
about it very briefly. So there is a term in physics, and I'm sure that and I'll talk about it. I'll talk about it. Hang on, I'm losing my voice. I wonder what that was about, some universal message. Entropy in physics is really a scientific definition of the nature of everything that exists that will go from a state of organization to disorganization. And
Mm-hmm.
we see it all around us. You were talking about doing laundry, right? And no matter how much laundry we do, or how much we clean off our desk, or, get into the garage, or whatever the case may be, no matter how much we intentionally try to organize our lives over time, whatever we're observing will lead back to a disorganized state.
Yeah. Chaos will
Chaos
spread.
will spread. And so there's intentionality in keeping our lives organized in a physical way. And my thought is that we do this also energetically. And so when we're not connected, when we don't remember who we are, when we're not clear on what we want to think and believe and the stories that we want to write that are true for us, that resonate with us in a deep, profound way, where that feeling of when you know who you are, when you know what you want, when you know what you want to share and tell and experience and believe, we raise our vibration in a really profound, powerful way.
Mm-hmm.
We can feel it. We feel it in our gut. We feel it in our
Of
heart.
course.
We feel that deep sense of, oh my God, I understand everything right now
Mm.
in this moment.
Yeah.
And so entropy, really on an energetic and psychological mindset level, really is just asking yourself in a metacognitive way, think about your thinking. Think about where you're going with your thoughts. Who am I? Why don't I feel confident? Why do I have self-doubt? How come I'm never enough? Why can't I just be better? Why can't I so, why did that person treat me that way? How am I going to handle it? What do I say? Do I speak from my heart? Do I get my ego involved? Do I try to protect myself? So then that's when we kind of go down that path of getting caught in massive overthinking, analysis, rumination,
Mm.
self-deprecation. We get into
So we
that.
kind of allow entropy. Is that
We
what you're saying?
allow entropy, and it's a
I love
human.
that. This is a very, very interesting take on how we do it. And I would absolutely qualify for that. I remember when I was I quit smoking. Well, rather, I became a non-smoker again. I was a smoker for 35 years. It was part of my personality, or so I thought, to be a smoker. And I thought that this was forever, basically. And I brainwashed myself into literally believing that I could change and that I could become a non-smoker again. but I have had some kind of at various, so that was 7 years ago, 8 years ago now, but I've had several bits of what we will now call entropy attack me. Um, as in, I've stayed with a friend who is a smoker for 2 weeks, and the first 3 days I hated the guts of the smell, and it was like annoying. And then it felt like, hey, maybe I should try a cigarette. Why not? And I could feel the my absolute not conviction, but my absolute certitude that I was not a smoker literally crumble. I could feel it in my body and in my mind that, oh, maybe I could smoke again. It wasn't that bad. And it was it was 2 weeks. When she left, I was really, really relieved because I hadn't smoked, and I'm not sure I could have lasted longer. So I literally felt the entropy at work in my certitudes and mindset and body. And it's happened several times over the course of these 8 years of me being a non-smoker again. So and I've had a conversation lately also with a friend who's in therapy, and she was saying, oh, I was in therapy when I was 30 years old, and it worked. I felt very much stronger and solid on my foundations. Now I'm 55, and there are some things that they came back. Entropy, the shit came back, or new shit, but basically, I don't feel solid as I felt when I finished supposedly my therapy 20 years ago. And so, yeah, I really think you're onto something with this entropy idea.
And I know we're talking about the 5C framework, and I know that we can talk about entropy and multidimensionality in another podcast, but I do want to say this. Hang on, I have like about a million thoughts in my head, so I'm in an entropy
Fine.
state. Um, but I do want to say this. I think that this sort of really be the idea of entropy, the idea, and before I go on to this point, remember the human brain really likes to predict the future based on past events.
Yeah.
And it is just part of being human. So, in my mind, there really is no end to this process of becoming just for its own sake. It's not about fixing ourselves. It's really about leaning into our true nature and understanding that we get to be the bosses of our own mind, not the other way around. Our minds can take us down rabbit hole after rabbit hole where we can begin to spiral and just really fall out of alignment with the essence of who we are in this way. And so, yes, like the smoking example is a really good example. And then if you multiply that by, 20 or 30 different things as we're navigating our lives, it can become very entropy filled very quickly.
Big pile of shit, basically.
Right. Basically, yes.
But I
And
think that,
so,
it's really, if we start looking at this, um, and we'll come back to the 5C framework, but this is juicy for me. If we look at this as entropy is a fact of life, this is it. It's a law of the universe. And at the same time, we are the bosses of our minds. So we are sovereign in our minds, which means the self development or the self growth or the becoming, as you call it, it has to be continuous because it's a fighting the entropy thing at the same time. So,
absolutely.
so it's
Right.
it's like, and that also makes sense with a thing that we've discussed previously, which is my very, very strong belief, which is a law of the universe, actually, that everything changes all the time, that there
Right.
is no permanence of anything. The only permanent thing is dead, basically, rocks. And even rocks are moving, so you never know.
Right.
There are atoms in there are moving, but basically, only dead things don't change anymore, or not that fast. So obviously, we have to keep on changing now. the direction of our change has to be a consequence of our thoughts, ideas, beliefs, etc., etc., because otherwise the direction is entropy.
Yes,
So,
and it's a natural state. And yeah, I mean, this is such a powerful analogy, and it may be ridiculously simple. If we don't do our laundry, what would that look like in a week, in a month, in 6 months, or a
mhm.
year? We know as physical beings there are things that we need to do to keep our
Yeah.
physical world
Well, the laundry
organized.
example, I live in a house that is 1,000 square meters. It's a huge house that we bought in order to run a B&B in it, which is we ran for 10 years and then closed. But anyway, when we visited this house, the family that were here had given up on laundry, literally given up on laundry. So they had at least 3 rooms that were full of laundry, of dirty laundry. Hoarders. Anyway, the value of this house, the estate agent told us, the real estate agents told us, you're going to pay half of the price for this house because there's the state of the house, the laundry everywhere, it's dirty, blah blah blah. So they're not good. And we've told them, if you want to sell this house, clean it up, do the laundry. And there was no way. So basically, we got the house for 50% of its value and
Incredible.
and they lost 50% because of their entropy.
Right. Right. And I mean, and I think that this harkens to another idea, concept, I don't know what to call it exactly. When I'm working with a client, and over the years, as I've worked with many, many clients, and I talk about intentionality, it sounds almost abstract. But when you put intentionality in the context of entropy, it makes perfect
Yeah,
sense.
yeah,
We
I
have to
agree.
be in, we have to be intentional about keeping our physical space clean, our mental space organized, and our spiritual space organized.
And the intentionality can also be put in another word that would be a creativity. We have to
Exactly.
create the circumstances for the entropy not to be crumbling or attacking us on every, kind of biting at us from every bit, whether it is 5D, 4D, or 3D,
Right.
because there is an entropy in all those three. So again, we go back to the framework of the creativity, because intentionality to me is another word for that. It's how do I create the circumstances of my life um, to continue self-growing, to continue becoming who I want to be and not who entropy has me slave.
Right, exactly. And it works on so many different levels, going back to connecting and gaining clarity so we can begin to create it on an energetic level when we clear that noise, when we do the laundry, when we are the boss of our mind. And and I like I said, because our mind and our brain really are basing and predicting future events on our past
Yeah,
experiences, it's very easy as a human being to get caught up, I think, in these thought loops where they grow and grow, and then we go down rabbit hole after rabbit hole. And it reminds me, it's almost paralyzing in the sense that, when you bought your home and there were 3 rooms filled with laundry, that's paralyzing.
yeah, because out of 5 rooms, they could only use two because the
Right.
other were filled, or
Right. And yeah.
and
And
that
so I
is
think, go ahead, go ahead.
it is literal, but it's the exact same thing in our heads.
Right.
Because if my head is filled with I'm not worthy, I'm shit, I'm never going to succeed, everything is happening to me, and the world is shit, and oh my God, the state of the world, and whatever politics I want to be involved in, and basically, if the whole of the space in there is hooked on this negative self-talk or negativity in general, then there is no space for creating, for
Right.
intentionality. Um, and that also touches, I think, another one of your C's, which is the confidence one, because when you live in a house full of dirty laundry or in a head full of dirty thoughts, let's put it
Right.
this way, um, you obviously have no self-confidence whatsoever.
Exactly. And that confidence, and I know that we're going to be talking about entropy again, but when we get into that space of stillness within, going back to connection, when we are tuned into the eternal, beautiful, expansive aspect of who we are at the soul level, we're tuning into the vibration of the universe. And that frequency really is the frequency of love.
Mm,
And
I
that
agree.
that frequency of love is powerfully attractive and powerfully energetically confident because it's aligned.
Mm,
And so, in the process of being intentional and really beginning to understand as human beings that we are all going to experience entropy in our mind, obviously in our physical reality, of course. But if we know that that is the nature of who we are, we get to decide, wait a minute, where did that belief come from? That's not my story. That's not
mm,
my belief. I don't need to think that any longer. And
mm,
we can then begin to release those thoughts. And then when they pop back up, we can identify them very quickly and release them again.
yeah,
That process of
yeah.
just being intentional. And when we do that, we're shifting our energy in a very profound way that leads to clarity, confidence, creating, and putting ourselves into the world, communicating whatever it is that we are, I want to say, destined to bring forward, right? Where we know that we're all channels and we're getting these beautiful creative downloads, and the crux of it is for many entrepreneurs, particularly spiritual entrepreneurs or soul-led seekers, purpose-driven seekers, we do all the work. We get the download, we get clear, we create, and then things can come to a halt in a moment if we do not communicate it to the
Mm,
world.
yeah, yeah. And I think also that the idea of the entropy paralyzing us is acting on, as you were saying, on the three levels, or even more maybe, that we don't know about.
Yes,
But of course, the dirty laundry, the dirty thoughts, but also the dirty beliefs.
right,
And that is, for me, that is, the place where, if I'm understanding you correctly, it's the same process for the three. To get rid of a pile of dirty laundry, what do? You pick up a few of them, preferably color assorted, put them in one bash and clean them, and
right,
that's it. And then hang them to dry, or put them in the dryer, and then put them back in the drawers, and poof, they're clean, right? Of
right,
course, they're going to be dirty again at some point, so it's not a one-off process. That's clear. That's entropy. It's the same with dirty thoughts or dirty beliefs. If I, let's own that, because I know that for a long time I used to journal every day, and then shit happened, whatever. It was not the bright. Blah, 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 blah. I didn't do it anymore. Well, guess what? My mindset went downwards, obviously. For sometimes I used to do, I'm very good at this, and I do my daily affirmations, and then I don't for some reason. And when I don't, I find myself doubting myself, feeling unworthy, having beliefs about my success, my possibility for success, or whatever. Basically, it's about one of my big beliefs, which is freaking consistency. If because if we let go, then entropy attacks. So it's about doing the laundry every freaking week.
right.
It's not about doing it once. And I remember being in a very very deep meditation retreat, um, and at the end of it, there was this woman, and we were talking, and she said, "Oh, now I'm good for a year at least." And I literally burst out laughing. You've meditated for a week, and then you think that for a year you can just abstain. Of course, now I know that we call it entropy, but of course shit is going to hit the fan
Right.
because this is not how this works. It's like food or sleeping. It's every freaking day.
every day.
Clean.
Well, right. And I think, I think that it's kind of akin to this idea of self-care,
Hmm? Yep.
right? Like I'll go get a massage or I'll go get my nails done or I'll go to a meditation retreat as though it's a finite act,
Yeah, I'll feel
right?
good about myself for 10 minutes.
We never say things like, I'm going to see how long I can get away without doing the dishes. We never say that because we can see in our physical reality, we can put a
The pile
finger
of
on.
freaking dirty dishes.
Right, we can put a finger right on it, but the same is true if we start thinking about the mind in the same way
Mm.
that we, and I know it is significantly more complex and programming comes from a lot of different places in our subconscious and all of those things. And it doesn't mean that those old thoughts and programs are not going to rear their ugly head again. But what it does mean is that when we lean into the idea of, I'm the boss of my home, I'm the boss of my mind, I'm the boss of these things, we can release those blocks pretty quickly. Kind of like, I just recorded a YouTube video about this. It's really about this kind of combination of psychology and metacognition, and
Mm.
then the energy of our thoughts and entropy and how we can regroup and manage them. And the first step, of course, with metacognition is to get very good at thinking about the way that you think about things. So taking like that 30,000 foot, 30,000 meter approach to really looking at who you are and what makes you tick, and then making a very clear decision, going back to connection. Wait a minute, I'm not that. Where did that program come from?
Mm.
Where did that belief come from? What story do I want to tell? Because at the end of the day, when we're empowered, we're aligning with our souls.
Yeah.
And so there it can never be wrong.
But
There is no mistake.
you started this part by saying, and I know it's more complicated than that. And I think it's not. I think it's not more complicated than that. We make it complicated. But basically it's quite simple. It's like the dishes, or the
Right.
laundry. It piles up unless we address it.
I
Unless we
agree.
look at it, unless we connect with it, recognize it, clean it, get rid of it. And it's going to come back, of course, entropy. But then we still have the resource of addressing it every time. And every time, if you have three dirty plates, that'll take 1 minute. If you have 30, that'll take an hour.
Right.
So how long do you wait? Or
And
do
I
you not
agree with
wait?
you. And I do want to be clear about what I mean by this idea of things being complicated. I do believe it doesn't have to be complicated to identify that non-resonant, lower vibration thought or belief and dealing with it. I think, there's a saying that a friend of mine told me, gosh, probably 30 something years ago. It's like a hot knife through butter.
Mm.
Right. Like we can put a hot knife through butter on any thought or belief that we identify that does not resonate with us. I think where I was getting into the idea of it becoming complicated would be much more like if we experienced trauma in our childhood, if we had
No, I
some
hear
really
you. I
intense old
agree. I'm not saying
but the
it's
process, I agree with you. Yes.
what I'm saying about the complicated and simple thing is that I believe that looking at our issues as complicated is part of the programming.
I agree.
And that when I work with clients and I suggest simple solutions, their first reaction is, it can't be that simple. And I go,
Right.
yes, it can.
Right. It can.
Yes, it can. If I don't want to be a smoker, I just quit smoking. If I want to have dirty laundry, clean laundry, I just do the laundry. And
I agree.
I know that for some people it's more complicated. I know that some of the trauma can be heavier, and it means to me that it might take longer, but it still is not more complicated.
I
And you see how,
agree with you. That's great. I agree with you. And I
yeah.
and I
Because I think that, believing that my shit is going to be complicated to solve means I give up and I forget about it. Or I try to forget about it. I shove it under the carpet and hope that the pile of laundry on the carpet won't show. But it will show. It will ruin up my life because entropy, right? Because there's
Right.
so much of it. So I believe it's not useful to think it's complicated. I believe it's useful to work on the connection with ourselves, on remembering who we are, just like you meant, your framework is amazing, and getting clarity on what is it that is the issue. And do I agree to be the person with the issue or not? And if I don't, then tackle it from one tiny corner.
I agree. There's another idiom in American English. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Yeah.
And it's really true. And I'm really glad that you brought that up because, and I'm just going to say this, my personal experience in dealing with my own thoughts and beliefs and programming has always been very simple. If I have a thought or a belief or an old program that pops up, I notice it, I take a look at it, and I say to myself, wait, that's not me. I'm done.
Yeah.
And I really can hot knife through butter pretty quickly.
Mm.
So I know that is true for me for sure. Who we all I think tick in a different way, but having said that, and I think the reason why I said what I said is that I don't want to minimize anyone else's
That's not my
experiences,
plan either.
you
This
know?
is not what I'm saying. I'm saying if we're talking about addressing the issue, about fighting entropy,
Right,
about being intentional, then step one is, as you were saying, having clarity, kind of, connecting with the whole of ourselves and having a look at that. And then, in order to get the confidence, we need to believe that we can do it so that it's
right.
not complicated. It might
I
be
agree.
long, it might be time consuming, it might be, it might need resources that I don't have. And that's why there are coaches and amazing people that we can get help from. But I have to get the confidence that it's, um, how does Mary Folio put that? Everything is, oh, everything, you can tackle anything, basically. Um, some are luckier than others and have smaller elephants. Let's put it
Yes,
this
and I
way.
think
or
and I
or
think
they have a bigger mouth.
right. And at the end of the day, when we're connected to the essence of who we are, we don't owe any explanation about the decisions and the choices that we make, the way that we want to live our lives, being as aligned as we possibly can be at the soul level. And for sure, in that space, it kind of goes back to the idea of these energetic blinders. We
Mm.
don't have to listen to anything that anyone else tells us about anything. And I don't mean that in like a weird, stubborn way. I mean that in a way that we return home to ourselves. And
In a
and the
way that
beauty,
we are sovereign, we are the experts
right,
on ourselves.
right. And there is so much energy, there is so much beautiful, freeing, powerful energy in deciding.
Yeah.
We just have to decide.
I
That
have a whole
thought,
program on making decisions and
I love it.
deciding.
I love it because there's an awful lot of energy in that empowerment energy, confidence energy, the ripple effect of letting the universe know that you're heading back toward alignment
Yeah.
with who you
Mm.
are.
Yeah.
Deciding is
The
a
ripple effect
huge,
of a choice, of a decision is huge. I agree. It's
huge.
like it's definitely the moment where even if you're not there yet, there are no other, once a decision is made, you've got the road is ahead basically, and
Right.
everything else has disappeared. So that helps a lot, I feel, because there is no other way to walk but in the direction that you've made the decision to walk.
And I do think that when we get into that place of deciding, we are controlling entropy.
Hmm?
because we are clearing a very distinct organized path from point A to point B.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
it just all ties back together. And I do agree with you, going back to this whole idea of deciding that your thought processes and everything you've got going on is complicated, it will just keep you in stuck mode
Yeah. I think it's a
for a
loop.
very,
I think
yeah,
it's a
for a
loop,
long
and
time.
I've used that as an excuse myself. For I'm going to go very private here, but why not? Who's listening? I've had weight issues for most of my life. And for most of my life, my answer was, oh, it's complicated. It's never as simple as just the food. There is trauma, and there is. It's a tangled situation, and but I think it's a loop. I think it's an excuse for me. Um, and a couple of months ago, I decided it was going to be simple, and guess what? I'm losing weight.
It's
So
amazing. Just the
uh,
decision.
just the decision that it
Because
was
now
going
you're
to be simple.
right, because now you're communicating
Exactly.
your
First of
thoughts
all,
to yourselves.
yeah, yeah, and the whole thing is aligned now. And I have the confidence that it's simple and that I'm strong enough, clever enough, whatever enough to tackle this issue. And then I'm tackling it, and I'm not even doing so much about it.
Right.
Um, but the instant I made the decision that it could be simple, it became simple.
It's beautiful. And that's exactly the way that it all works.
Mm.
It's
Yeah,
all
that's
really
why
about
I went all
energetic.
vulnerable in there and talked about that. I usually don't talk about that, but anyway, because I think that it's a very practical demonstration. Because I feel that our conversations sometimes kind of are very high on intellectual ones, which I love, but also I feel sometimes people might not relate. So I think this weight thing or the laundry thing, we need to make this understandable for everyone. It's not me. I'm not nothing special. Um, it's about really um, using those 5 C's that you mentioned to fight entropy at every freaking corner. And we can do it in very practical ways um, if we do not get trapped into our own mental loops. The complication is one of them, not the only one, but the communication problem that you were mentioning also, we need to come back to that. I feel that, this is another loop. I've done the whole creating thing, it's there, but I'm not sharing it with the world. I'm hiding it on my computer. And that is another how do you say that? Loop or um, place where we get stuck.
I think it's definitely another block, right? And so that's a great way, I think, to break it down in a practical way. So when we talk about, let's just say, and I'll go through the 5 C's, when we talk about connecting, people will have a mental block saying, I can't stop thinking, or I can't meditate, or I can't be still. I've got too much in my mind. That's definitely a decision that you're making to
Hmm.
not get into that space of connection. It's not even necessarily about meditating, it's just about creating stillness within, just getting back into that space of stillness. And so, and then we move on to clarity, and then that is that, that mental discipline stage, hot knife through butter, getting very good at observing what the heck it is you're thinking about, ruminating on, feeling stuck about, and what is true for you. And then moving into that creative stage with confidence and that beautiful feminine energy integrated with masculine energy in a really powerful way. And then we get, for sure, with entrepreneurs or anything that we're creating that we want to bring into the world, we get to that communication stage, and then another entire set of mental blocks can completely pop up. What if no one likes this? What if someone judges me? What I don't think I want to be visible, right? All of the things that come from visibility and putting yourself out into the world. And this is a really practical example of that. I just made a YouTube video, I don't know, it was a YouTube video I made a couple of weeks ago, and I created some YouTube shorts from that video, and it got a lot of hits, and my ratio was about 75, 80%. So in YouTube, right, the ratio is, the number of likes versus dislikes. And I actually had one or two people dislike the video, the short. And I thought, well, why bother disliking it? Just move on your way. Just, why do you have to be negative? And we all know in this age of social media, people just say things, like when we put ourselves out there on social media, there are going to be people in the world saying, yeah, I don't really like you.
Of
And you
course.
just have to get over it. But I had that moment of thinking, did they have to be negative? Couldn't they have just gone on their way, blah, blah, blah. But it goes back to that idea of communicating. You get the creative download, you create with confidence, you're on a roll, you're in flow, you're on fire, you're definitely feeling it. Everything is amazing. You know that this is going to be the next big thing. And then you just hit the wall and you cannot move forward in bringing that to the world. And the only way to create impact and influence and income for sure is putting yourself out there and
Mm.
communicating, your brilliance to the world.
I agree.
And so
I
it's
agree.
another loop.
Yeah, I agree. It's a loop, and if I may, um, this loop, the communicate. So what I'm feeling with your framework, the 5C framework, is that there is also a bit where it's not chronological. Let's put it this way. So this communication thing, I have seen myself, and I'm sure I'm not the only one because I've seen it in clients as well. Um, the communication thing, or the place where I start doubting if anybody is going to like it, if, I'm going to make money of it, nobody's going to buy it, blah, blah, blah. It can hit even before you actually create the thing, which means it prevents you from actually creating it. There are some of
Absolutely.
us who have stuff on their computers that don't share because of the fear of this communication thing. And of course, we can again go. I think we've mentioned before that the witch wound and the reasons why, etc., etc. But it's I think it's more complex than that, and it can also hit. That's what I was going to. At another complete different time, which is before I actually create. I get the download, I got the connection, I know the thing that I want to create, and then the gremlin hits of, is this going to work? Blah, blah, blah. Is this my thing? Should I? Am I worthy? Am I an imposter to talk about this topic? Blah, blah, blah. And then I don't even create the thing,
Right.
which is even, so what I'm saying is that the 5 C's, we need them all all the time. It's
All the
not
time.
it's not one after the other. Okay, so now I've got the connection. Now let's go to clarity and then creation. It's not like that. Am
No,
I
it's
correct?
definitely not linear. It is definitely
Linear.
not
That's the word I
linear.
was looking for when I said chronological. Thank you. And the other thing is, we several times I wanted to add this into the mix of our conversation. You insist very rightfully into my idea on the concept that we need to disidentify from our thoughts, from our ideas, from our beliefs, aka from our traumatic beliefs, basically. So we need to learn that might be the first thing that we need to do, is learn to just see, oh, this is not me.
Exactly.
Um, and in the same way, when somebody will dislike your video, this is not you they're disliking, it's the video.
Right.
And again, disidentify, because I remember this course that I'd taken, that we were supposed to create something and then destroy it. I think I've talked about it before with you. It's really very powerful moment of, hey, I'm not destroying me. I'm the creator. I can create another one. I'm just destroying a thing. It's not me. I disidentify from the thing. So even if I create a program and nobody buys it, it's not me they're not buying. It doesn't mean I'm not good. It means this program did not find its audience. That's all
Right.
it means.
Exactly.
So
And the timing could have,
disidentify from the thing. Yeah,
right. And the timing could have been wrong
the timing, the
or,
price, the colors of the graphic, or just my face at that moment, or
right.
and maybe it wasn't a good program. It still does not make me a bad person.
Right. I know
But
there,
yeah,
and there is no judgment. And as you were speaking, I was thinking about the old saying that I'm sure is, I don't know if it's an American idiom or not, fake it until you make it. Um,
I don't know. I think it exists in the UK as well, but I
okay,
wouldn't.
so
I'm sure.
just sort of fake being who you are until you get to where you want to go. And I think what I'm talking about is more like, what if we had, and this is why affirmations can be ridiculously powerful if we use them correctly. I am an amazing influencer on YouTube. I am I can get a creative download. I can create it. I can confidently put it out into the world, right? So it's not really about faking until you make it. It's really about deciding what thoughts empower you. And
Mm,
even if they sound off the wall the first time you say them to yourself, doesn't mean it's not true for you. We get to think, as a sovereign soul, we get to think and believe whatever it is that we want to think and believe.
mm.
So if I want to
And
feel
act upon it.
empowered and act upon it, so I get to think and feel however I want to feel. No one gets to dictate that for me. I get to choose that in every moment of every day.
Yeah.
And and I can share that masterclass link with everyone in the audience. I'll share it with you because the as I'm thinking about the 5C framework and its diagram, it's a circle. So it didn't occur to me as we're, on audio that it's not a linear process at all. And so I can share that link with everyone. But it harkens back to this idea of being connected to who you are and knowing that intentionality is just a natural part of a process
Mm,
of the universe expressing itself through you throughout your life. That's really what's going on.
mhm. So, because we have been talking for a while already, I wanted to maybe find a way to kind of go towards a close concerning the 5C framework. We will have another conversation and we'll see about what is that about. And I was wondering, is there something that you think you need to um, uh, add to this particular explanation, let's put it this way, of your framework, or is it you feel complete?
I I think, there's always another way to talk about something or, you know, take it to a different level. But I feel solid. I feel as though we really touched on the basis of it. The main thing is, and what I really want everyone to hear today, get clear on who you are at the soul level and decide what thoughts and beliefs and programming, what story do you want to write that
Mm,
is empowering, bold, confident, tuned in, aligned, high vibration, whatever words bring forth the best in you. Those are the thoughts and the beliefs and the programs that should be running through.
mm.
I hate to use the word should. If you choose to accept the mission, lean into the words and the programming and beliefs that really, and I want to say this in a really powerful way. We humans are all miracles just by getting our energetic soul into a physical body, right?
Mm,
It starts from day zero. And that is the nature and the essence of who we are. And because of that, we get to be all that. We get to create and become and choose in a really powerful, aligned, beautiful, eternal, wise, expansive, abundant, amazing way. It is absolutely a choice. It is hot knife through butter, like I mentioned. It is exactly what Isaiah said about not making it complicated. It's a process, it is a journey. We are not meant to be here to get into that mode of perfection. It is just a really compassionate journey of unfolding and of becoming and acknowledging that we are really beautiful, powerful co creators of our reality. And yeah,
And becoming a freaking inspiration as well,
exactly.
because that's the
Exactly.
thing, I've been confronted lately to people who are not in a positive energy, who are in a dark place. And I know that to plunge with them will not help them. What will help them is me shining my light, basically,
Exactly.
and holding
Exactly.
the idea that they can join me
Exactly.
above the level of the water and not under, and not me plunging, kind of,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And because you would be plunging into their entropy.
Yeah, exactly.
And the opposite of entropy is the vibration of love. It is the natural state of being and stillness inside of us. It is the natural tendency to to go back into our vibrational state that is, I don't want to sound totally theoretical here. We're balls of love if we choose to be
Yeah,
that.
yeah, I would agree with that. Absolutely. I can't resist to discuss a little more if you have 5 minutes with
Absolutely.
so first of all, I think that the next episode is going to go back to the 5C framework as well, because I have more questions. I actually um I read something in the paper that you sent me around this episode that we have not discussed, and I want to. So
Ooh.
be warned. But for today, you mentioned the famous fake it till you make it expression or idiom, and I wanted to um, discuss that in this particular way. I was trained as an actress. I was supposed to be an actress, and then my life turned out otherwise, but I did work as a professional actress for 4 years. I made a living, and this was my job. And what is an actor if it's not faker, right? We pretend to be someone else. And I was a theater actress. So you have to play repeatedly every night the same emotions, and you have to make them believable for the audience. And you know what's the best way to make them believable is to believe them. I used to cry when the character was sad because I was sad. And then the curtain falls, and I'm not sad anymore. So is that a lie? No, it's not. Because I felt the emotion. The tears were real. It's not me pinching my eyes to make myself cry. So it's not faking it, but it's still not my emotions. So we can identify to whatever we want, we decide to, or we choose to. If I identify to a crying person, I will be crying. If I identify to a powerful ball of love, just as you said, I might not be crying that much or tears of joy. So I think that, it's not about faking it. It's about deciding to feel it, just like an
I
actor
agree.
decides to.
And I do think that that is this new 5D energy that we are in. I'm quite sure if I started Googling the origins of fake it until you make it, it probably was from like a modernist era, like the old way of being before
Hmm.
when we humans were just hanging out in 3D and 4D all the time, right? And I mean, I'll just remind everyone 3D is our physical reality and 4D is our intellectual reality. But now we're moving more into this expansive, energetic understanding of who we are, at that spiritual soul level. And so I agree with you. I think fake, and which is why I don't ascribe to fake it until you make it.
I think it's almost true. but it's feel it until you feel
Right.
it.
It's feel it. It's feel it until you make it. It's all about tuning in. Our emotions are an amazing tool
Yeah.
to help us decide what feels good. And when something feels good, that is the direction to go.
I think this is it for today. When something feels good, this is the direction to go. So
Yep.
it feels
Yep.
good to stop right here. So thank you so much,
You're
Sheri,
so
for
welcome.
today's
Thank you.
conversation. Once again, all the links about your wonderful world, sorry, and the things you mentioned will be above, below, or around this video or this audio. And there's going to be a fifth episode, so stay tuned for that. Thank you so
Ta-da!
much. Thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
coming, and I will see you next time. As for you, dear listener, thank you so much for being with
Bye,
us once
everyone.
again.
Thank you.
Bye. See you soon.